What a season of surprises. The Saints are on top and the Cats are sitting last. But guess what? Jason Dunstall is still angry, so some things never change. Hello and welcome to Fox Sports Lab AFL. I'm Ben Dixon, your host. Joining me, AFL great Jason Dunstall and the stats guru, Paton. Welcome, boys.
How you doing?
Oh, okay, a bit frosty off the top, but guess what? It's Dunstall Don't Argue time. So, Chief, you got a little bit to get off your chest.
Don't like the word angry. I don't get angry. I get frustrated is what I get. I want to know, when did we become blindly obsessed with picking talls? And I'm talking about tall forwards, essentially. Yes, it works if they're guns. We saw Franklin and Roughhead at Hawthorn. We saw Cameron and Hawkins at Geelong last year. We've seen Lynch and Revolt win them. We've seen Kennedy and Darling win at West Coast. But they're gun players. Don't just play talls for the sake of playing talls. All it does is compromise what you're trying to achieve. First thing it does, if they're not guns and they're not dominating, it kills your forward 50 pressure. I mean, seriously, the ball just starts rebounding willy-nilly out of your forward 50 and that puts the defence under pressure. And I'll give you a couple of examples. We saw, I get we need to get games into young players, right? I get that. Young key position players take games before they can improve. But we saw the Tigers last week in greasy, slightly wet conditions playing extra young, tall, up forward. Didn't work. All of a sudden they make the sub in the second half. Now Cumberland comes on and nearly turns the game around. Now, they didn't win, but gee, got them back into the game, didn't he? It was extraordinary. We've seen the Bulldogs. Oh, all that great talk about playing 3 or 4 talls. How did that go? No good whatsoever. The Swans are now dealing with how do you play Franklin, Amati, McDonald all together? Well, you probably don't, because the 3 of them aren't going to dominate. What about last week down in Tassie, Diggo? We saw Hawthorn go small in the forward line. What happened? Oh, my goodness, they won a game.
Unbelievable.
They won a game because you don't have to play talls. It's horses for courses. So please, let's try and get some things right, will we? I'm getting really annoyed by just... And don't get me started on contracts. Now, that's not the players' fault, but clubs are making stupid decisions around tall forwards and it's skewing the market badly.
Are you making a reference to Eric Hippo's 7-year deal?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there is so much to put into this basket. It's frightening, and I'm getting a little frustrated.
Well, you didn't mention Joe the Goose up in Brisbane with Eric Hippo, but we'll go there later on. Al, what's your thoughts on that?
Just when Jace was saying, ranting there, the thing that just jumped straight to my mind was at the MCG last Saturday night, watching the Bombers. They played Jake Stringer and Sam Wiedemann up forward. Obviously, Peter Wright's out. Sam Landsberger had a great stat in the Herald Sun this week that they were targeted 11 times, those two, for a 0% return. The Saints just whiffed the ball out every single time, and they had little Butler and Higgins kicking goals at the other end. So it shows it can work.
What about Richmond? 15th for scoring. Like, what's happened to the Tigers in terms of their firepower?
Well, Richmond and Brisbane were the top 2 teams for scores last year, and they're both in the bottom 6 this year. So there's issues at both teams, and it's interesting that both of them have brought in midfielders to bolster the midfield and fix what they thought was maybe an issue there. Richmond, their clearance game has improved and their defence is still good, but yeah, there's something really badly falling down in that piece where they get it, turn those into scores. And Cumberland, I think, is going to be a really interesting case this week if they play him again, because at least he looked like he could make something happen up there. But I mean, one thing that you can tell from Richmond games this year is the overall score in those games has been really, really low.
Well, Dimmer's fault.
It's Dimmer's fault.
It's Dimmer's fault. Now, we all love Dimmer. Let's be brutally honest. We love him, and he gives us such great clips when he does presses and the like. And he cracks jokes, and he's warm, and he's hearty. What are you doing, Dimmer? Seriously, he's gone from one of the most attacking teams to now playing defence. You've got Lynch and Revolt up forward. You've got Bolton and Martin. What? Can't see any weapons up forward, Dimmer? Coach some attack, son. Get back to what you do best.
See, I knew it'd take a while to heat up, but there's a crank in his back.
Frustration.
There is frustration here. I just want to touch on quickly, Essendon, St Kilda in particular, didn't have a forward line. You mentioned the Hawks last week. First 2 rounds, didn't have a forward line, and they kicked 100 points in winning scores, Al. So are we going away, to Chief's point, are we going away from the talls now? Are we going for that more dynamic smalls?
Well, I just think it's, as you say, horses for courses, and it might be different case from week to week depending on your opposition and venues and things like that, but you just work with the talent that you've got. So if you've got the big talls who are absolute guns, you back them in, but if you don't, then you find another method. Although maybe Tom Hawkins, there's a question there about should he be playing at the moment.
Thank you for the voice of reason. So you started skewing it straight the other way because you just don't understand. Al's understand if you've got good tools, they play. But if they're not playing well, you don't have to play them for the sake of it, Dicko.
Well, I wasted 8 years of my career as a decoy trying to get out of the way for these tools.
But you're not a tall, we didn't know what you were.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was either. All right, there you have it, coaches. Don't go tall or you're going to hear from the frustrated Chief.
Footy is life. It's loyalty, rivalry, love and pain. Footy is everything. That's why we've made a betting brand for footy fans. That's better. Chances are you're about to lose.